I'm just in the menu right now, just entering my name to see what options we have. No, I need to go skip.
On the day the princess...
No, okay, we're gonna... No. Game! Let me...
Recent this.
No, I don't want to start it yet, I want to... Game! No. Okay, menu. Main menu. Options. Oh, wow. Okay, what resolution are you jumping into there? Okay, TV sometimes tells me. Okay, 1024 by 768. Potato resolution. Okay, 1 second. Let me go into my capture card here. Oh wait, you guys can see this now, can't you? Let's unlock it. Edit the transform. There we go. There we go! I could actually probably shift it over to the side a little bit, since we've got the room. Let's go into studio mode so that I can do this a little bit better. Let's just do that. That works. Ah, yes. I forgot that there was a point in time where our options were full screen or nothing. Okay. I'm going to delete that player. Wait, what? You must have at least one player. Okay, well, I'm going to make a new player. And the new player is just going to be Ellie. Then I'm going to delete that. Done. Okay, there we go. Ah, so this is a much older hidden object game. Novels? Game comes with novels? Let us begin. Once upon a time, many years ago.
On the day the princess was born, the king held a great festival and invited all but one godmother, who was strong in sorcery yet wicked at heart. Upon hearing the news, the evil godmother placed a curse on the newborn child. Later in life, the young princess came across a spindle in a dusty old room and pricked her finger. The inhabitants instantly fell under a sleeping spell, while briars burst from the ground and shrouded the castle. One day, a daring prince braved the thick vines and ventured into the castle. Upon finding the princess, he gave her a kiss, which was foretold to free the princess from her curse.
Gross.
Though the kiss removed the briars and awakened the inhabitants, the princess never rose from her eternal slumber. Many years have passed, and the truth behind the sleeping princess has been forgotten. What remains is the tale passed down through generations. It needs to be the kiss of her princess. The Sleeping Beauty.
1,000 years later in Edinburgh, Scotland.
Detective, the case file you have in front of you may be connected to the tale of Briar Rose. I've given you a map to an abandoned castle rumored to be her resting place. Recent evidence shows vines are growing under the castle grounds. Your investigation will be to find the source of this anomaly and to quickly stop it from spreading further. This case is of the utmost urgency. If the vine growth is not contained, it will consume our city within 7 days. Good luck, Detective.
7 days. And then I crawl through the screen. Welcome, Detective. A sparkling location shows an area of interest relevant to your investigation. Would you like a quick tutorial? Always. As if I've never played one of these before. You can find an axe within this location. Find all of the hidden pieces to complete your item. Select the first one here. Inventory above the screen shows you the other pieces left to find. If you're stuck, use the hint button. Wait, are you showing me where every object is? Okay, no, you're not. That's good. Ooh, this is low res, to say the least. It needs an HD remaster, for certain. Okay, like that looks like a little rose right there. Oh, maybe there. We've got like a few more of these little bandage pieces. And then like a couple of these handle pieces. One more piece. There it is. By their powers combined, we found a new item. Pick up your newly acquired axe and remove the vines from the door. If you don't know where an item belongs, you can hold it and click on the hint. Okay. You now have access to the castle. To see a list of searchable areas useful to your investigation, click the inspect icon. Inspect. Okay. Chapter 1. Look at the butterflies. We have ourselves another hidden object, or no, a minigame puzzle. There are many interactive contraptions within the castle. Explore and click everywhere to solve the puzzle. If you are stuck, a hint can help you. You can also skip the puzzle, but it will lock the hint for 5 minutes. Place buttons in their appropriate slots. Each gold owl is interactive. Okay, I see. I sort of understand. So that one's good. Come on. Ta-da! You solved this puzzle contraption, which reveals a collectible item. These items will help you in your investigation and usually can be seen with a subtle flash. Go ahead and collect this item. I found myself a door handle. We have ourselves another hidden object scene. I'm gonna turn on the smart clicks here in case you want to help me find some of these pieces and have the extension enabled. You can. I'll have you know that I'm playing it like actually, it might be easier if I just play it using the OBS output, now that I think about it. Because on the screen that I'm looking at, it's being like stretched to like the widescreen aspect ratio, and it makes the acceleration on the mouse really, really feel weird. Okay, I'm looking for, although it is much larger than my OBS output. For that. And a blue one like that. Missing 2 pieces, it looks like. Where are they? Is that just not working for you? Oh no. Here, one second. I will close it and restart it. You have, I don't know. Maybe you need to refresh or disable it and re-enable it? That could be a thing. There's one piece. Where is that last piece? Oh, I think I see it. It works now! Hooray! Do you see the last piece? That's not it. Oh. What is that? Oh. Is that they have a click penalty? Aha! I don't think it's along here. Oh wait. There we go. Ta-da! Got half of it. Door handle most likely goes there. I guess I gotta finish that before loading. What is there to load?
Welcome, Detective. Do not be alarmed. I am Briar Rose, and I wish you no harm. The curse has returned, and a great danger looms. But I can help you to stop it before all is consumed. My body lies in repose in a castle room deep. To vanquish the curse, you must rouse me from sleep. However,
is it my true love's kiss for you?
Godmother is haunting this place. Be wary, or else she may foil your case. Follow me.
Although, like, you're a 1,000-year-old dead lady. Like, that does not seem especially pleasant. Ooh.
You cannot stop me.
What on earth was that? That was the bad person. Why is she holding Gyro's sleeping Ellie not dead? But it's been 1,000 years. it started off this like 1,000 years later. Can't sleep for 1,000 years. You need to eat food and, you know. Magic. Look, okay? If there's magic to sleep for 1,000 years, I gotta get me some of that. Sounds like a very restful nap. Each slot relates to the animal above, align them to fit a particular pattern. Okay, so maybe it's food? I don't know what this eats. There we go. I guess it's a mouse? Ring the bells in the correct sequence. Notice the blue bulbs above. Dun dun dun! Queen's tombstone. Can't sleep for 1,000 years. Watch me! Challenge accepted. The nameplate on the stone reads, Godmother of the Rose. On her stick, it glows. Oh, we have another hidden object scene. Gonna restart the extension. Should be good to go. We are looking for a bunch of these tiny things. Okay, so that was the vast majority of the super easy parts. What am I missing? 2 sun pieces and a little round thing. Sun piece kind of looks like it would be up there. Oh no, there it is. The little round thing. There we go. One more piece. There. Pro hidden object strats. Oh, look at the little spider! Also, I'm not sure how these chains are just dangling off to the side, but it is an old game, I guess, so. Achieve this objective to progress to the next chapter. Clicking the hit button will clarify the objective, however, your hit mirror will be disabled for 3 minutes. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. It's go back here and put this here. That's how we get to the next chapter. And we have another hidden object scene, so let's restart the extension again. You can really tell this is an older hidden object game. Like, it feels old. far, it hasn't proven itself to be especially difficult. The puzzles are a little more challenging, though, you feel? It's definitely a little bit less obvious. And because this is a different developer, so like, the thing about Artifex Mundi and the Spark engine that they use is they recycle and reskin a lot of their games, which is fine. Like, that's... everybody does it, and it makes sense to do it that way. So, like, once you can recognize, like, the puzzles, they're a little bit easier, even, if you've played them a bunch. So... Yippee! Oh, there are 4 interactive puzzles. Solving each one will move the horse forward. Go. And like, these definitely don't give you as much of a hint. To what they do. What else can I click on? This goes somewhere. Oh, on the compass. There we go. Yeah, the puzzles are definitely a little bit more up to you to figure out. Hidden objects seen, the extension should still be enabled. You're playing with smart clicks. What am I looking for here? We are looking for all sorts of things. One of the things that I notice in particular where they don't have the quite so flexible resolution, this game here has been a lot more inclined to put pieces, like, really close to the edge here. What am I looking for? I'm looking for a tiny little round piece, which looks like that, but clearly isn't. Oh, there it is. Then I'm looking for weird little and a roundish tube piece. Like that. And then a bunch of flat pieces. Flat, round pieces. Round-ish. Pieces. Where are you? This is definitely, like, at the lower resolution, noticeably more difficult to look for specific shapes. Missing one piece. Oh, there it is. There it is. We got ourselves a shovel. Cursed object. Removing the curse morphing. Oh, this game has morphing objects? Cool. Cool. So this shovel is for right here. Shield rose disc. I wonder what lies at the bottom of this well. Why do you wonder that? Apparently the knife isn't a proper tool. Dark rotten liquid is oozing out of this wooden bucket. Very ew. Very, very ew. Okay, so this goes somewhere here. A symbol of power. I am worn on the most powerful ruler. Something, something, something. In this land. Grab that. Ladder's not high enough for me to reach across the wall. We'll make the ladder higher. Move each colored ball so it stands above the correct tile. Okay. I see what you want me to do. Sort of. No, that's not gonna work. But this might... Oh wait, this they have to be right on top, probably. Statue appears to be holding something. Can I take it from it? Gonna find again. The extension should still be on. We just gotta find bunch of these little pieces. Ta-da! That's one thing. Need to find a little crown jewelry type thing. And then this. Right there. Perfect. The King's Scepter. I'll take it. Goblet is identical to the one painted in the window above. 3 figures each holding a different goblet. So I need to find a couple of other goblets. It looks like. I'm certain I'm supposed to put these crowns like somewhere like this. An untouched white rose is locked behind this panel. It emits pure floral scent. Floral scent. Pure. Wait, there was a shield in there. Half of a ladder. This is what I'm building now. Also, I was here a minute ago. There was not all these broken pieces lying around. Those are new. Also, all these screws and nails in like the grass and stuff, that's dangerous. You could hurt yourself. Where are those nails? It looks like they're right there, but they're not. Oh, there they are. Maybe? No? Oh. 100%. 100%. Yeah. Very, very accurate, Tia. Such smell. So strong. It looks like there's like a little frog in that lion's mouth, and it looks cute. Okay, little tiny nails. Where are you? Oh, over here? Don't think so. Oh, yep, no, there they were. Thank you very much. We finished the ladder. Okay, so now we can bring that back. Let's quickly just... It's like, I think here... I'm gonna do at least that much. Make sure there's nothing... There is. There's more. Okay, so we have one more piece, which is right there. Oh wait, no, that goes there. I was carrying around that giant chunk of statue. Achieve this objective to progress to the next chapter. Okay, well that objective is easy. That next chapter is right over here with this latter half. Ta-da! Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Chapter 3. And now, oh wait, I should turn back on the extension. It is back on. Case. What are we missing here? Round thing. Some of these colliders are really, really tight. It's like the first hidden object game I made, like the very first hidden object scene that I made, I had the colliders like super tight around all of the objects. Like, you needed to be pixel perfect. And it was cruel. Very, very cruel. I found a new item. The crown key. So this goes there, and I need the other half still. What else can I... That's it for here, so I guess we go back. Door is locked. That is not the key for that door. Circular disc is missing from the engraved spot. Oh, hello. Wait, that's where I just was. Well, if a small knife isn't the proper tool, the king's scepter is not the proper tool either. Definitely not a princess doll. Maybe a key? Let's see, what do we have here? Another... It was cruel, she said, with a big, big smile on her face. It was! It, like, I mean, I thought that was, like, part of the charm of these games. It was the first one that I ever made. I was like, okay, so... You, like, the people, it's like those Magic Eye games or whatever, like, people, like, really want to pixel hunt. They want to find the exact pixel that they need to click on. That's what I thought. And then it was like pointed out to me that no, it should be a little bit more flexible. With regards to letting people click on things. How is that not this piece? That is totally that piece. But I guess it's that piece. Hi, Pumpkin! How are you doing, kitten? I'm gonna say hi to everybody. Hello! I am such a long cat. Such long. He's like, Mom, why you do that to me? Don't do that. Pumpkin, you should go lie down in your spot. It's a good spot. It's just for you. Although, I'm not working on anything right now, so I just need my mouse. So if you want to sit right here, you can. This is where she's gonna sit, I think. I need a little brown piece. Also, the extension should be enabled, so if y'all see the pieces I'm looking for, go ahead and point them out to me. Everybody's saying hi there, Pumpkin! There we go, there's one piece. Still missing a round one, a square one, and kind of a mix of the two. Oh. Oh, thank you. So we've got that one. I'll reset the clicks here. Let's see. Oh, there's one. And then the last piece, a little bit round. Still wooden, so probably somewhere to do with this wood stuff. Maybe. Oh, we only need one more piece. One more piece. Oh, Pumpkin might be going to her spot. What are you doing, Pumpkin? That's a weird spot for you to... There we go. Yeah, that's where you want to go, kitten. Kitten. There we go. Extension is failing you again? Okay, I'll restart it. I'll restart it again. Restart. There we go. How about now? It's on the barrel thing in the back. On the barrel, like this? Oh. I'm not seeing it. Unless there's another barrel thing. The stream just got 500% better? 500%? That's a huge increase in betterness. Where is this piece? Just one little brown piece, it's all for missing. This is where I would have thought it would have been too. Oh, gotta stop doing that. Sounds like we're under a faucet? The audio? Did the audio get janky? It's just you. Okay. Yeah, no, it sounds, I mean, it sounds as good as it's ever sounding. I think. There's still a lot of work that I can do to increase the quality there, but it's just you. Okay, yeah, I think it might be time to use a hint. Just gonna do one last Scan. I want to use as few hints as possible. But yeah, no, I think it's time. Right there! I definitely clicked there before. Definitely clicked there before. Also, we lost Pumpkin. So we got one goblet for... for in here, I think it was. So I need one more goblet. Then that door will probably open. Okay. The extension should still be on, so... y'all spot anything? You know the drill. Okay, so then also a bunch of round pieces. Oh, Pumpkin, what was that? Pumpkin just bolted up the stairs. She doesn't usually go upstairs. Go, and just two more pieces for the other half of that sun emblem. There we go. Oh no, wait, there's still one more piece. Here, and it's like, go back to here for the next... where was that? That was... up here. Chapter 4. Begin! We are so good at this. A thick batch of briar surrounds the store. I'll need a large tool to clear out these vines. An antiquated suit of armor guards this entryway. A shield is missing from its hand. Oh. Sorcery book on immortality. Okay, so maybe she's not dead. Maybe I'm gonna be just smooching an immortal lady. I'm okay with that. Okay, so that was a good chunk of pieces. What else are we missing? A little tiny gold thing and what looks like the back of a book. The back of the book. Looks a little bit tricky. Told you so, hair flip. You weren't wrong. You weren't wrong. Just, I needed to be sure. She was a ghost after all. We did see her be all ghostly. Like, I had reasons to believe she was dead. Immortality? When you online have a life? When you online have a life online? Oh. Here somewhere? That doesn't seem to have anything. Astral projection, not a ghost. Okay, okay, that's fair. That's fair. Stop it, game. Just want to click. That was another thing. I remember we had talked about having a click penalty, but it was decided that it was also cruel and unnecessary. See, I always figure there's that episode of Black Mirror that I kind of associate with the immortality, where it, like, the AI builds, you know, your personality out of, like, your social media profile. They let you talk to your, there it is, your dead person. That's immortality. There we go, and one more piece of paper. Also, I should clear that just so that it can be redone easier. It is running, of course. Looking for a piece of paper. Pizza paper? I mean, I don't know if pizza paper would be good. But kinda, yeah. I really like the thin pizzas, so yes, pizza paper. I'm down. Down for some pizza paper. Oh, there it is. Spotted it! So now, in theory, I have a book on immortality. I should be immortal. Assuming I just have to read it. Achieve this. Wow, that's a. Select particular crown. Maybe for a crown key. Oh, it looks like I'm gonna need a couple of books for that. Match 2 correct pieces according to the clue above. There are 4 variations. Cats. Ah, wait, we gotta look at their face. I like this puzzle already. Okay, so it's these ones. Oh, did they change? Oh, I like the kitty cats. I'm certain that's one of them. No. It's one of these ones. Go. Question mark knight question mark? Oh, it's probably the items held in his hands. So shield is one of them. Sword is the other. Or wait. A plus B equals 15. this. Yeah, cats greater than crowns. Maths again. Yes, the maths, they come. They will never leave us alone. Your math teacher wasn't lying when she said you will need these skills for the rest of your life. Get in. I still need to find the book. A statue appears eerily realistic. It is almost as if they're staring back at us, because they are. Those are real people. Oh, there's a book. Probably the book that I need. This. What's the second book on? I didn't look. I should have looked. Sharp batch of vines. It's not the knife. Okay, so this is my goal that I have to figure out. Can I take your axe? Sir Knight? Your axe would be very, very handy. In this moment of... I don't have your thing. I apparently don't have the things for you, even though I'm fairly certain those go there. It's the ghost again. She's missing her head. I would like to take that shield and give it to... the knight. Little moth. Teacher, why do I need maths? You need it for hidden object games. Yes, exactly. Or, you know, if you ever have to solve a Towers of Hanoi problem, or so many other problems that we put into video games that we just don't, we disguise it. We're like, oh, this totally isn't math. Trust me. Are you holding a scepter? What about you? Are you holding a scepter? What about a knife? What about a doll? Assault. See, like, all of those have to go... There's no way they don't go down there. She needs a wand, and she also needs a wand. The rest of them all have wands. can't do anything there. At all. Antiquated suit of armor. Shield is missing from its hand. I know, and I want to find its shield. Can I do this yet? Maybe like here? Here? How many do you think I need to find? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them at least? Or I've gotta... It's either that there or I've gotta figure out how to get that one out. What do I need to click on now? Because this is just saying I need to solve this room. This is the only thing with a glimmer on it. Of any sort. Those don't click. That doesn't click. What else can I interact with? An owl statue base is hidden inside this tree hole. I know it is, and I want it. Oops. Oh, accidentally found a cursed object. Oh wait, what was that? Oh, that was just another cursed object. That's not what I'm looking for. Ooh, but this is new. Not really, though. Very, very tricksy, it would seem. I don't have anything I can clean that with yet. Although I don't know why I can't just use, like, my arm. Nothing else out in the distance. Worst case scenario, we can resort to the strategy guide. We do have the collector's edition. And the strategy guide's even better than the hint in that book. If I show you, like, prologue here, it shows you what you need to do. So if we get totally stuck, we can resort to that too. There's something that can be done up here, but it's not with the knife. There's a shield there, like, I just, for that, oops, for that suit of armor. Still feel like this is... Gotta be able to do something with this. Just clearly not yet. Okay. is that not? Okay, let's press the hint button. The hint doesn't have anything for us. Because we're not in a hidden object scene, or is it just because there's nothing we can do? Let's check my notes. Finally, I've gained access inside the castle. There appear to be 3 doors. 2 of them are blocked off at the moment. Secrets kept within the tower should give me much more insight into the investigation. Okay, yeah. I was investigating abandoned chapel, noticed that Briar Rose's portrait was missing from the colored window. The princess had passed away. Her depiction should have been included as well as a form of remembrance. Perhaps Spirit was right. Her sleeping body's actually hidden somewhere in this large castle. Any clues? Not really. Let's go back. Hello, Emily. How are you doing? Hearts and hugs. Welcome, welcome. What is going on? You're not doing that good, you're shutting down? Oh no! Well, I can give you some hearts and some hugs. And I can... What's going on? If you want to talk about it, of course. But I hope things get better. I wonder. The Queen's missing something too. Is she missing a knife? Or a doll, perhaps? Can't go any further back than there. She's missing something. What is she missing? Maybe she's missing like the little ball thing? Whatever those are called. It's kicking you. By try everything and nothing. The streets are kicking out because... Oh! That is awful! You try family? Friends, though it has room... Have you... I don't really know the area that you're in, but... Are there any, like, LGBT support group type things, or what's the word that I'm looking for? Shelters, or anything like that you can maybe reach out to? alcohol, but nothing. I'm so sorry that that's happening to you. I mean, you've probably thought of everything that I could think of. Like, I don't know what resources are available, but ugh. That's just, I find that just so awful. Like, that is, why would, especially any parent, why would they do that to their kid? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. You're shutting down to the point you don't want to eat or drink anything? Well, you have to keep eating and drinking. You gotta do what you can to keep yourself going. To the best of your ability. It's important. You're gonna, like, that energy is, you're gonna need it, I guess, to get out of that situation. Ugh. That makes me mad. I don't think parents should be able to do that. Have you tried, like, I don't know, any sort of, like, looking for a roommate, sort of? Not like Craigslist, because that's... I've only heard creepy stories of things like that, but there's gotta be something. You have already? You got told to be out by the end of the month on February 3rd. So that's gonna have been a very rough week so far. Awful. Okay, where they went, that was the 7th. I may need to look at the strategy guide to figure this out. Wish there was a strategy guide for life sometimes. You don't know what to do now? Yeah, it sounds like you've exhausted all of the resources that I typically recommend for people. Like, what about like other shelters, like non-LGBT specific ones, like women's shelters and stuff like that? Or even if necessary, just like seeing if you can, and I'm sure you already did this, but seeing if you can like couch surf for a little bit, or what sort of likelihood would you be able to get like your own apartment? I don't know. Okay. Did not expect that to be the answer. So you could sleep at night and they kick you out during the day? You work nights? Ugh. Really? That seems a little bit bonkers and backwards, doesn't it? You losing your job because of this? Yeah, I would definitely talk to the shelter, and if possible, I would definitely try and find yourself like an apartment or something. And yeah, that's a good idea. I've racked, like, oftentimes I know jobs, like places of employment, have the term I'm thinking of is like crisis hotline, sort of like crisis worker sort of situations. That they might be able to pull from. I'm trying out. They usually have resources. You probably just need to talk to HR or whatever the closest thing to that you have. Tried that and that didn't work. You tried that 3 hours ago? network doesn't care. That's not good at all, then. Why wouldn't they care? Like, they risk losing an employee. Then they could just find someone else. Well, but have you tried? Because, like, maybe even, like, if you can just, I don't know, have you tried asking your coworkers? I don't know, I really... I think it sounds like for me, my goal would probably be to try and find an apartment. If you can, because like that there would give you the most independence with regards to the living space or whatever, and then you wouldn't have to worry so much. But I know that's easier said than done. Well, I'm really sorry that you're in that situation. I'm unfamiliar with the laws of the US and California in particular, although I feel like California's probably got some rules that are favorable from what I've heard. So I really don't know. But I would try everything. Like even if you think your work won't care, like it's worth a shot, right? What did I find? Owl body. Probably be broadcasting that you're about to be homeless. Plenty of people don't even know. Okay, well that's especially once you've exhausted every other resource, like and like maybe see about trying to talk to like a social worker type person. They would definitely be more familiar with like the resources available in your area for sure. since you don't know how comfortable you'll be with that. It's definitely tough, right? Because like I get it. Like there's a whole lot of emotion that goes into that, but and just personal stuff. But for me, anyways, like I would rather do that than and not end up completely homeless or not getting help. The center don't know anything? Well, no, but like what about like an actual, like a social worker? Not like a center, but... You've been on a Section 8 waiting list for 8 years. I don't know what Section 8 is, but that's probably like the social work thing that I'm talking about, I guess? Maybe? Again, I really don't know what the area's like and what they've got there, so... But that sounds quite awful in that it's taking a long time. Which doesn't surprise me. I know a lot of those systems are inadequate at best. A lot of the times underfunded and that jazz, but like, I feel like there'd be like a priority thing, like... Move each colored ball so it stands above the correct tile. Okay. So one of these again. Going that way will just get me back there. Imminent homelessness should skip. Exactly. That's what I would. Whoa, big spider. Okay. That's what I would think. If you had kids, then it would. I don't know, for me, a big chunk of me would just be persistent. Like, even if they were, like, if they came back to me and said, like, you know, if you had kids, we could help you out, I'd be like, well, if you can help someone with kids, you can help me out, and, like... But that's again, that's me, I can be a little bit aggressive sometimes. When I need to be. Yay. Ooh. This halberd. go. I want to go. Based on urgency points, kids are definitely one. Also current, near, future homelessness, illness. Do you have any family living near? Sometimes. Which, like, again, it makes, like, I get it. It's like how hospitals work and the ER and stuff like that. But I would just never let up. Go back to that owl. Oh. Okay. Chapter 6. How many chapters are there? 12. So we're kind of halfway-ish. And then the bonus adventure. There we go. That goes in that other room. Owl. Go. That is a creepy owl face. See, I was expecting this to be a minigame. Because of all the vials and stuff. This green thing I was expecting to be easier to spot. Oh, is it up here somewhere? Oh, thank you. That is not green. That was brown. Reset. The clicks. So we're missing just 2 little pieces. They're both kind of weird bendy pieces. There's one. And this last piece. What do we have? Go. We found a new item, an energy cell. Some kind of cell is missing from this slot. Oh. That was a short chapter, wasn't it? Oh, hello. Prison key. The prison is near here. Ooh, that's not good. Somebody probably forgot to release the prisoner when the castle was abandoned. That's also not good. Sturdy rope. I wonder if that's for the... what's it called? Well, for the well. Yeah, we got ourselves a portal. Look. We can teleport over here. Oh. Which gets us another cloth and detergent. He was just there for stealing bread, but it turned out to be a death sentence? Oh, that's tragic, that poor prisoner. One more item. Where is it? Is that it? That looks like it could be it. Oh, brass key. There we go. Oh, now I can clean the lens. Oh, yes! You're very right. What do I need detergent for? Okay, let's go do that. That was this way. Also, what was that? Ooh, hello birds. Owl, tiny bird, parrot, pigeon. What's the tiny bird? Okay, so we also... Oh. Start cleaning the castle for when the princess wakes up. Yeah, we wouldn't want to get her dainty little hands dirty, would we? When she gets up, that wouldn't be nice. That wouldn't be nice at all. So there's something I'm going to be able to chop apart here. Oh wait, no. This is... The owl is here. I need some sort of tool to get this owl statue to open up. Is the tool a pickaxe? Or is it a brass owl key? It is. I've got an owl coin. Achieve the objective to progress. Is that the objective? I think that was. So, on the way to the prison, on the way to the laboratory place. Oh, not that button. I noticed that that changed. Also, use the rope. We can now go down here. Hi, little mouse. It's a sharp floral scent, so I gotta get the flower to get that out. I've also got a broom to clean up the castle now. Just in case we were wondering. feel certain it's all of these. That's probably the room down the well. That's probably where her body is. Let's stick it around more easily. The portal? Probably? Not that it's particularly long to get around as is. Other than remembering where I need to go. Let's see, what else do we got here? Missing 3 pieces to build a flute for an angel. Oh, the broom! Ah, I can fly on it. I don't think I'm a witch. I don't think I can. I couldn't use... I clearly didn't use the immortality spell from the book. So... Two more pieces. Look at this little knight person. Looks like he has to pee. Like, I'm sure he's supposed to be kind of like doing like this, holding a sword or something, but that's not what it looks like. Hide in the bean. Don't look! Don't look! I forgot my cod piece. Okay, we need one more. One more piece. There we go. So we're gonna go up into the bedroom, into the food. Well, there is something definitely on that fiddle. Da. 2 more pieces. You haven't eaten since 5 p.m. Emily, get some food. Get some food and drink some water, even if it's not much. Because again, you're gonna need that energy. I know you're not hungry, but just like a little bit. Like a tiny little bit. More like a snack. Select the 4 correct bird portraits. The clue can be found through a clean telescope. So, it was owl, little bird, parrot, and sky rat. Wait, was it a different owl? Or was it a different parrot? Select the 4 correct bird portraits. Clue can be found through a clear telescope. Okay. Not like that. You want to cry? Cry if you want. Healthy too. Take care of yourself. Only despite the people that are doing you injustice. Right. It's very, very okay to cry. Like, I am a big advocate of crying and processing your feelings and your emotions in any healthy way that you can, and crying is definitely one of the best ways to do that, I think. And yeah, show them. Looking for a tiny little rose and a tiny little rose petal or leaf. Dining room. Oh, wrong one. Oh, wait, okay. It's probably to do with that. Do-do-do-do-do. Now, will this stop when it hits where it needs to go? No. Okay. This can actually just go like that, but we may need that for something else. This can also just do that. But that doesn't help these any. Chapter 9. We've got a bunch of pieces that, like, I think we know what we need to, or where we need to use them in the world. So we're doing pretty good on that front. What am I missing? Some tube and a flat piece. Tube, where are you? Another one of these puzzles. There we go. Got you out of there. You're going to try and sleep off this fever? Thanks for entertaining stream. Everett, thank you so much for hanging out. Hearts and hugs. Sleep off that fever. Get yourself some rest. Stay hydrated and all that jazz. Take care, and I will see you again, I'm certain. Poodles. That's everything pretty much in here. It's a different bedroom, actually. So this is the bedroom that was in that objective. Okay. I wonder if I need to go. Oh. Back. I'm gonna go put some of these things that I know where they go back. Like a flute. Goes there. The wands go in here. Pretty sure now. Well, I guess I can do these while I'm here. The wands go wherever those fairies are. Two more pieces. One more piece. There we go. Hello, the Bractal Escapist. How are you doing? Hugs and hugs. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Escapist there is a lovely maritime streamer and lovely, lovely friend. You should definitely be checking her out. She does the cooking streams. She exploded some bread or something. I think it was banana bread, right? The other day. And when we popped in last. So if you're not already, please go get and give her a follow. Okay, so. Oh, we got this one too. What is going on, Escapist? How are you doing? Banana bread. It exploded. Exploded everywhere. That's... What am I missing? A little crown and a little hand. There's the hand. Little crown. There it is. We've got the next doll with a creepy doll thing. Let's go back. That goes there. They're not in there, but guess that doesn't go there. You hold the broom. Are you holding one of these? Don't think so. Okay, just about to start. Supper said you figured you'd come by for a few minutes while you get set up? That's awesome! What are you making? What are you making? Something tasty? Give me the inside details. Big hallway and the castle. Okay. Oh, this is the head for that statue. Making cabbage soup with dumplings. Ooh. That sounds pretty good. There we go. Okay, so let's go put that where that goes. This way. Here, lady, have a head. It's not missing a torch. It's not missing a rose wand. I would have... Just based on this one, it looks like it would be missing the torch. Not missing a room. Maybe she was holding a pickaxe. Nope. Nope. Okay, we gotta find that room now. The aviary. But we can do this. Just need to find the horse, which is in the horse room. Extreme comfort food. Extreme comfort foods are good. They are very, very good. I still haven't figured out what I'm gonna do for supper. I'm leaning towards thinking about pizza. Okay, so this... Oh, that's... all the way back. Oh, too far. Too far back. That goes there. Godmother of the Ivy. And she had an Ivy wand, so that's 4. Ugh. That's for this one. Which gets me this piece. Pizza is always a good choice. I think so. I think so. It's my problem is, and it's better now, so this is why I'm thinking I can do it. But a few weeks ago I had some dental surgery, remember? Like the inside of my mouth still isn't too great. It's not bad though. Like I've been eating more real food. Just have to make sure it's not too hot, is what I think my concern would be. That room. That room is the new room that I got. Go. Okay, so I'm missing that. And this. There we go. Got myself a harp. Where will I use a harp? On the spider? But look at this. Nothing here. anything with that. Here's the spider. Is this way? Oh, torch. Probably the torch. We got ourselves another hidden object. Bunch of round pieces. That we've got to find. And then some more metallic looking tool type pieces. Where's this last one? That's what's up. Hopefully you'll heal full soon. Yeah, it's come a long way in the last week-ish. So I'm feeling pretty good about it healing. Hopefully when I go check it up, they'll say, like, when I get it checked up in, I guess it's like a little over a week and a half-ish ballpark, they'll say, like, everything's great and we don't need to do anything else. And I'll be like, yay. That's what I'm hoping they say. One more piece. Yeah, not... Oh, there it is. There it is! We found it. Now we can cut open the chains on that cabinet thingy. Let's see what the spider was hiding. Just gonna reach into that fire and grab that rock like it ain't no thing. Okay, one more piece. It's always the last piece that's the hardest to find. Always, every time. You'll keep everything crossed for me, thank you. I appreciate it. Oh, too many clicks. One more piece. Where is it? Well, I have to use the hint. The click extension should be enabled if you're playing in the web browser, so you should be able to spam click in a location if you can see the piece that I'm missing. And I'll want to highlight it for me. That should be running. It's like a corner piece. I'm not seeing anything. So I'm gonna hint. Oh. Again, reaching into the fire for the dangerous, dangerous stone. Gonna scoop for now. Hope the rest of the stream goes well. Escapist, thank you for popping in. Hearts and hugs. Have fun making your supper again, y'all. Should be checking her out. She's super duper fantastic. Take care. Thank you so much for stopping in. Lovely, lovely, lovely person, everybody. Just so you know. So that we've got the Queen's Tombstone. That's hearts and hugs. So we want to go back to that room and the horse room. Okay. They have gotten a lot of use out of this scene for hidden objects. Pretty sure if we use the hidden object scene more than twice, I mean this is a much older game, but if we'd used a hidden object scene more than twice, we would have gotten complaints. People were like, just lazy. But I don't actually mind it so much. Okay, so we're missing, I think we're missing like a stem looking thing, yep. And we're missing a little nubbin and some petal looking thing. This is the petal looking thing. Just missing a nubbin. If I were the nubbin, I would be in here. Or here, but... Little nubbin thingy. Oh, is that it? There we go. I knew it! Place was that long room. Okay. Well, let's... I've got that, so let's go here. I need a key to open that. I don't think I have anything that is key-like. How many of these circle things do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I need one more before I can do anything with that. Not that way. It's the prison. Need a pink ribbon. And then 2 more pieces. 1 more piece. It kind of looks like a weird puzzle piece. Yeah, little puzzle piece again. If you have the Smart Clicks extension enabled and you're in the browser and you know where the piece is, if you spam click on it, I should be able to get a little pop-up that shows me where you're clicking. Let's see, what do we have? Oh, there it is. Spotted it. princess key, so that's maybe the key for that graveyard? No, that's the horse room. Just... let's do this since we're here, because that's... that goes to the queen. Pretty sure. Go all the way back here. That gets us... horse sign water. There we go. This gets us our horse, so we can now finish. Yeah. Surprisingly, it doesn't want us to go into either of the places I was expecting it to want us to go to. This one. Here. We want that. A bunch of broken bottle looking pieces. I just need a little ring-a-ding thing. Ring-a-ding thing. Where are you? There we go. Found the rose potion. I like to think I'm a pretty fabulous detective. Oh wait, no. I want to go back in there. I want to put the horse there. And get the rose room key. I also want to go to the kitchen-y spot. Where was that? No, not that way. Not that way. Maybe this way? There we go. Bunch of wood pieces. There's a whole pile of wood there. That's all the wood you could possibly need. And some rope looking pieces. There we go. We can make ourselves a hammer. Saying go into her room? Don't know if I've found everything I need to do that yet. I mean, I must have. Or I must be close. Oops. You're probably holding a harp. That gets me that piece. I've got all of the circles, I think. Unless... hello, little mouse. Does that go there? No. Alright, wait 1 second. Let's try. Over here again. Wait, didn't I have a key? I did. There we go. White rose. Projection of a black rose. Okay, so I will need to get that black rose out somehow. Or that white rose. Which... I think... would have to do with these. A symbol of power I am worn on the most powerful ruler in this land. Well, that would be like the crown, right? It's a symbol of power. Oh, there we go. I am your best protection from undesired weather. Use me well and you can deflect incoming blows. To see yourself best. So danger will use me to trek on rugged land. Oops. Untouched short rose lock. Oh wait, no, that's... I am a famed object. A prince seeks the stroke of midnight. Oh no, I'm missing one. Okay. Let's seek a rose potion? Okay, so we need to go into the castle, I think. So I'm fairly certain I just need to find whatever disc I'm missing. And it's out in the world somewhere. Either behind something that needs a hammer, or a rose potion, or a pickaxe. Oh, wait 1 second. This. There we go. Glass slipper. Powerful symbol of love. I need another one. So probably wherever I use the hammer. You'll get the white rose for that. Birds, you're not helping. Check the prison. Not seeing anything that blatantly stands out as like use hammer or rose potion here. Oh, maybe. Doesn't seem to be anything else in here. I know, little ghost lady. I'm still missing something. What I'm missing. I may need to look at the strategy guide again. Let's do it. Let's look at the strategy guide. We are on chapter 9, I think. We did that. Boot rose disc. Got that. I'm gonna search that there for the word disc. Queen's Tombstone. That. We've done that. Part rose disc inside of broken jar. Okay, so that's... I don't think we've done that. I think that's what we need to do. Hammer. There we go. Okay. There are thousands of us. If you look up at the dark, that's the star. And then it's the rose. There we go! We did it. And now... we need to go to... the grave. It's over this way. Asleep. I must find a way to wake her up. Is it use the rose potion? Rose potion? plates connect top of this peculiar machine. Looks like a pathway to some kind of fluid. There we go. Match a series of symbols to defeat the evil godmother. Oh, golly. Like, do I have to do this? Oh, no, that.
You cannot stop me!
You say that, but I'm going to. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Oh no, they're adding more symbols. They're adding more symbols. Okay, we got this. This witch ain't so tough. I mean, the bad guys in the Grim Legends games were way tougher than that last one. Uh-oh. That one, this one, this one, that one, pretty one, this one. This is a long fight. Which you don't stand a chance. That is that one. And then... Oh no, that one. That one. Hey, I'm clicking on it. Oh no, that's the wrong one. That one. That one. That one. This one. Oh golly, that was close. Booyah! Witch, you're going down! Whew. Hello, bird. There's a carrier pigeon by the window. That is a chubby pigeon.
Thank you, Detective, for fully lifting this dreadful curse.
I'd better have given her a kiss.
My body is weak from centuries in slumber. I'll rest here for just a bit more. When the curse resurfaced, it also awakened the spirit of the evil godmother.
Good to know.
She led you here to find my sleeping body. With it, she can once again materialize in human form.
Oh, that's not good.
You have done well, for now she is gone forever, along with the cursed vines. Your city is now safe.
Hooray!
However, another curse has awakened, one that will submerge our world in water. To stop it, you must find the fabled Frog Prince, as he still lives among us to this day. The carrier pigeon has given hints to his location. Good luck in your next investigation, Detective.
Now we gotta find a frog prince. The end! Thought to be a fairy tale, you find the sleeping princess through your investigations. I kiss her to waken her up with true love's kiss from the curse. Now that your city is safe, the princess has you small crown and urges you to stop another imminent threat. Holding a map left by a carrier pigeon, you begin your next investigation and search for the fabled frog prince. A new, harder adventure is unlocked. You now gained the Golden Rose item. So now we have the bonus adventure to play. So that wasn't too bad for an old game. I'm really interested to see like what entry number 15 in the Dark Parables series is like, because while I was making these types of games, the Dark Parable games were always held to like this like high level of just like, these are like de facto excellent HO games, and I only played parts of a few of them, so and that would have been like 8 years ago, so 7-8 years ago, something like that. So I'm looking forward to going through this all in order and like actually playing them and seeing what it is. But next time we play a Hidden Object game, we will have to do the Collector's Edition content of this one. What we're going to need to do. But for now, I am going to call it here. I do need to go eat some food. So everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Hearts and hugs to all of you. Kitty, thank you so much. Y'all are super duper awesome and amazing and wonderful. If you enjoyed the stream at all, I do play other games other than hidden object games. I also edit a podcast, usually on Mondays, but sometimes when I need to make up time. Hopefully that won't be too much of a problem going forward. On Thursdays, I do a coding stream or game dev stream where I'm working on a game with the marvelous Stellar Boar. On Fridays and Sundays, I ideally play games, not always hidden object games. We're probably going to start a more core game at some point in time, very, very soon, and also sometime, hopefully soon, we're also going to play some tabletop simulators. So yeah, those be the plans. If you enjoyed the stream, you can follow me up there. Thank you for reminding me, Kitty. And also Facebook, Twitter, Discord. Links are all down in the doobly bit. And also Kitty posted those in chat for us, so you can find us there. Bunch of wonderful folks. At the end of the stream, I do like to take us on an adventure. We are gonna go raid somebody. Let's see. Who can we go raid? Just angle that camera up so I can see who's online. Let us go. Let us go here. This is probably who I'm going to be watching while I get my supper, so we are going to raid the lovely OK. She's playing some players, Unknown Battleground, PUBG, that's what she's playing. So everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight again. Really, or tonight, this afternoon. Really, really appreciate it. Y'all are super duper wonderful. Have yourselves a lovely, lovely day, and take care of yourselves, and give yourself hugs if you need them, or you can grab them from somewhere else. Do what you need to do. Do what you need to do. Take care. All the hearts. All of the hearts. Toodles. Oop. This one too.